It's Tuesday. That means it's time once again for a meaningful chat with all of our Star Trek pals. It's Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Ken Ray. Tonight it is the Thanksgiving Eve edition of Mission Log Live, though really, shouldn't every day be Thanksgiving? Gather around our virtual table as we do most weeks. Bring your thoughts, your ideas, and share them with us. And golly, we'd be grateful. There are a few ways you can do it. You can click on the link to join our Zoom meeting, or you can use the one tap from your smartphone. You can also call us. We'd like that. 646-558-8656 is the phone number to call, 646-558-8656. Then you enter the meeting code that you'll find in the show description and the comments. Then the table is yours, for as long as you have the table. Joining us this week, John Cooley. He's a fan of Star Trek, like all of us, but he's also got a foot in the world of Trek products. You know, those really like super swank uniforms that you see at, Star Trek Las Vegas or whatever convention you have to be at. Maybe a movie premiere when you're like walking in line, you're like, wow, where'd that guy get that? Chances are he got it from Anovos. And John Cooley has a thing or two to do with those. So you can ask him questions by joining our Zoom meeting using the one tap from your smartphone or calling 646-558-8656. John, do we also want to encourage people to say, what they're thankful for as we enter the Thanksgiving season?
I think that would be lovely. And they can leave that in the chat, or they can call it in however they like. Speaking of the chat right now, saying hi to our Star Trek pals. There's Barry. He says the turkey dinners have turned into real turkeys. So,
I referenced that earlier.
See, right?
It's like the only Thanksgiving episode of Star Trek, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, it is. It is. You got Carlos saying hi. You have Donna, Mary Bauer. You have Narda all the way from Australia. You've got Evan. You've got Aaron. You've got Casey. Hello, Casey. You've got Kim. You've got Paul. You got Chuck, Josh. So many of our friends. Oh, look, there's David. There's Debbie. Hi to everybody. Really nice. And let's see. Russ says, hi, Ken and John. Hey, where's Ray? I love that guy. Sorry, Russ, you just forfeited the rest of the show for yourself. Sorry, it works out that way. No, really good to see everybody there. Even Carlos says, the John Cooley. So people are excited about our guest tonight. Thank you to all of you, to everyone who is watching live on Facebook or YouTube. Thank you to the people who are catching the video later as well. Finally, thanks to all of you who are listening to the audio-only version of the show. It's not just about this show, though. Remember, the Roddenberry Podcast Network is a network of podcasts. Funny how Roddenberry Podcast Network is a network of podcasts. It's all available at podcast.roddenberry.com. You got your Mission Log, you got your Mission Log Live, you got the Trek Files, you have Women at Warp and Priority One. Collect them all at podcast.roddenberry.com. And finally, please, you know what's coming now. The appeal to validate our existence whenever, wherever you're watching or listening. Head to the source, hit like, hit share, write a review, give us 5 stars. I don't have a song lyric tonight, Ken. I'm just going to say that Paul McCartney wrote that last part, okay?
I was going to say, I believe it was Paul McCartney who said, give us 5 stars.
He did. He said, all you need is 5 stars.
5 stars is all you need. Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm. He said that for like 9 minutes.
You did.
Didn't he? It felt like it went on about that. Oh, nice. I like what you did there. Yeah. Hey, let me let you know about some stuff that we've got coming up in virtual reality, which is, weird, but cool. We're coming to the end of our trivia tournament. I missed last week's trivia tournament. I am looking forward to finding the video, though, and seeing how it went and who is going to be our third champion to step into the ring. December 13th, that is Thursday, December 13th, we will have our final round of the trivia championship. There was the person who won the first round. There was the person who won the second round. Then there was the person who won the third. Dave Takechi won the first round. I know that. Everybody else is kind of a blur. But there's going to be one winner to come out of that with prizes, both in VR and also in real R. So that'll be kind of an exciting thing to see. And we would love it if you guys joined us as well. And don't forget, you don't need the headset to actually take part. To get the fully immersive thing, you do need the headset. But if you've got a computer running Windows all the way back to Windows 7, you can actually come in and watch what happens. We usually hang out for a few minutes afterwards, talking track, talking VR, just talking all kinds of stuff. So Thursday, the 13th of December, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Please join us in Sansar on our virtual bridge for the final round of the trivia tournament.
Hey, Ken, you know why you don't know who won the last round?
Because I wasn't there.
Because you weren't there. You were traveling, and stepping in to co-host was Elijah from Priority One. We had a blast. It was his first time doing an event there with us, and hopefully he will come back for more. Mad Eye won that round. So we had Dave Ascertain winning the first round. We had Akara winning the second round. Mad Eye winning the third round. They will come back for our Tournament of Champions. And I can't wait to see the utter trivia bloodbath that will be on December 13th. So coming up on the live show, this very show, on December 4th, we will welcome Andrea Letamendi and Brian Ward. They are the hosts of the Arkham Sessions, which is a psychoanalytical look at the world of Batman. But they're also Trek fans and Star Wars fans. Andrea was the one who hosted the Psychology of Star Trek versus Star Wars at Comic-Con. So join us for that. December 11th, we'll be talking about the December 6th short trek, The Brightest Star. We'll be joined by the guys from Two Guys, One Trek on that episode. That'll be a lot of fun. Then, let's see, on January 8th, we know that that's when the Harry Mudd short trek comes out, The Escape Artist. So, I'm sorry, it comes out on January 3rd. We will be discussing it on January 8th. And of course, a whole lot of live in between there as well. Then January 17th, Disco is back. So the following Tuesday, we'll be back with season 2 of Mission Log Live. Hey, Ken, every week we have a poll question.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, last week he asked, yeah.
Well, no, I'm sorry. So that's how season 2 of Mission Log Live begins?
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
it does.
I didn't realize.
Well, if you recall, I don't know if you were there, but if you recall, we started Mission Log Live with the premiere of Discovery season 1.
Are we working on any kind of cliffhanger or anything? Is somebody going to be written off at the end of this season? I didn't even realize we were doing seasons. It's so weird to find this out in the middle of the show.
I know, right? It's kind of, that was like the sudden shocking twist. I just M. Night Shyamalan you right here in front of everybody.
Oh, you did. Yes, you did. What a twist.
I did. Hey, all right. So last week's poll question, we asked you, could you love a computer? Because we saw some computer love on Calypso, that short track. A full 59% of you said yes. I'm not surprised there. And then 41% of you said no. It was a very interesting discussion with Dr. Ali Matu. That was some heavy stuff. This week we make it a little bit lighter. Ken, what are we asking our listeners this week?
This week's question, Treksgiving plans. The question is with Trek or without? Will it be courses of food, family, and Star Trek? Or will you be giving Trek a holiday? Treksgiving plans with Trek or without? 72% of people say with Trek. 72% of people say with Trek. 28% say without. I actually kind of want to ask people when they call in about that. Because I don't know. For me, well, Wrath of Khan is my Christmas movie. So Christmas never happens without Star Trek, as far as I'm concerned. Thanksgiving, I hadn't really given it much thought, although you and I are recording the next mission log this weekend. So, over the Thanksgiving weekend, there will be Trek, but there was going to be, because, we have a job to do. Right. I'd love to find out from people, if they've made a conscious decision to add Trek into the mix, or if they've made a conscious decision, no, you know what? It's just going to be football and that parade, and I'm good. Anyway, that's the poll question. And of course, you can answer the poll question, well, past Thanksgiving. You can answer it for a week, but go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/missionlogpod. You'll find the poll question there for the next week. Treksgiving plans with Trek, without.
I kind of thought when I saw that poll question go up, I thought for 2 seconds, I have things to do. There are friends I'm going to see. I probably won't have Trek. But then I thought, oh yeah, like you just said, we have a job. Yeah. And that job requires watching Star Trek. So I will indeed at some point on Thanksgiving be watching Star Trek. Not that I won't enjoy it. I've already watched it once, but this is a dense episode coming up. So there's a lot to watch. There's a lot to think about. So I'll be watching it again.
And maybe we should all watch Charlie X for the 10-second mention of Thanksgiving.
I think it's a good call. All right, well, let's move on to our special guest, because we know that he's just chomping at the bit. He is, as you mentioned, Ken, a Star Trek fan. Boy, is he a Star Trek fan, but he also works in that world, and he knows a thing or two about Trek collectibles, Trek costumes, all of the above. Let's welcome our friend and yours, John Cooley.
Thanks, John.
Hey, welcome to the show, John. Although I know you've been lurking. I know that you know a thing or two about Mission Log, as well as knowing a thing or two about Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. I've been listening to you and Ken for years and years and years now, probably from your third episode on. And so this is kind of fun being on, I guess, this side of the mic for a change, as opposed to just having to lurk and call in. So this is a blast. By the way, Ken, Charlie X on Thanksgiving Day, it's not just something that has to happen because it's the only mention of Thanksgiving. It's the only time we get the creator of the show in the franchise.
That's true. He was the guy who called up from the galley and said the fake turkeys are turning into real turkeys.
Exactly. So I mean, it's great because it's a mention of Thanksgiving. It's even better because Gene gets to appear in his own creation.
Yeah. I honestly wish, someday, John, you and I should try thinking ahead, because it wouldn't have been a bad idea to come up with what? I know, right? It's kind of crazy, but it wouldn't have been a bad idea to come up with okay, so you've got your yams, you've got your cranberries, you've got your turkeys. What are the perfect episodes to go along with your Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving 2019. That will be the Mission Log Live for Thanksgiving 2019.
I've had in my head that there should be special holiday-themed episodes regularly anyway of Mission Log. And just throwing it out there, in January, how about a State of the Franchise podcast?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just annually, since the franchise is growing and blossoming right now, I just feel like an annual status report of the franchise should be something we all look forward to.
Why don't you just go ahead and write me hate mail now? and we can skip that part. How would that be?
Mail.
All right, let me ask you a question, actually, because I didn't know. I don't know as much about your history as I might. I was surprised, actually. Before the show, you were very kind. Said you're really excited to be on because you have been listening. You think back when you were still in the Air Force. Talk to me about moving from. Well, first of all, talk to me about what you were doing there, if you want to, or not. Sure. But then, okay, we all know John Cooley because John Cooley has the really cool, pardon the pun, has the really cool, Anovos outfits, the Star Trek outfits, and that whole thing. We see you at conventions. We know who you are from that. How did you get from I was working on airplanes to I'm making costumes that everybody craves?
It doesn't seem linear, does it? It's not. There's a hop, skip, and a jump in there too. So I'm an Air Force brat to begin with. I was born in the Air Force. I met my wife in the Air Force. I joke continually, and it's a little bit more, I guess, morose towards the end. But the idea being that I was born in an Air Force hospital. I'll die in an Air Force hospital, and along the way they issued me a wife. Somewhere I'm just a government asset, and there's a stock number. I'm sure you probably order 5 of me from somewhere. Not that anybody wants more. And then, so I found myself just naturally in the Air Force, followed my dad in, and enjoyed working on fighters for a number of years. F-15s, for a couple of years, worked on C-5s. And that was a weird detour, and I understand why. That's where I met my wife, actually, was while I was stationed in Dover, Delaware. From that, I had a great Air Force career. I enjoyed it. But I had an opportunity to join Anovos. I had a number of friends that worked for the company. We all knew each other through various message boards and things like that, where people who are aficionados of props and costumes meet. And it's not an asylum. It really is just, other places in cyberspace. And through that, those associations, I met my friend, my boss, the guy who brought me into the company. His name is Joe Salcedo. He founded the company with another gentleman named Dana Gasser. And we sort of became this little enclave of people. They were around a couple of years before I showed up, obviously. I joined a little late, already in progress. But it was this little enclave of people who we had seen for years, our whole lives, licensed products that didn't necessarily look the way they did on the screen, be it a TV screen or a movie screen. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to look like we stepped off the soundstage. And so that's how Anovos came about. And that's how I ended up joining Anovos. I met Joe and got to talking. And Joe is probably one of the most scarily intelligent people I have ever met. And he just sort of cherry picked each one of us that joined the company from wherever we were in our lives and dropped us into Anovos, and it worked.
Can I ask, because I know John is absolutely dying to get to the part where you recreate everything that is exactly the way it was when he was 5.
Yes.
But talk to me about, okay, so we've got you now from the Air Force to Anovos. Where does Star Trek come in there? Like, where does your Star Trek fandom lodge?
Probably 3.
Okay.
Earlier, 2. It was, you couldn't miss it in the early 70s in syndication. If you missed Star Trek, it's because you were intentionally trying to avoid it. Right. And somehow we found each other. And I've always loved it. I can't actually recall a time in my life where I didn't love Star Trek. I was the kid running around with Mego action figures and a little Remco phaser belt in the backyard with a green Don Moore shirt on. Yeah, there it is. As I already said it. Running around in the backyard playing Landing Party. And so Star Trek's just always sort of, I'd say that it runs in the background of my default program, but it's not even in the background. It's on the desktop. It's there all the time.
Why Star Trek, though? Because I will tell you, I could have been that kid, except Star Wars happened when I was 7. And Star Wars did not completely push Star Trek out, but I mean, certainly it did for the first 3 years. From 77 to 80, Star Trek didn't exist, or it didn't exist anymore as far as I was concerned. I knew who Kirk was, I knew who Spock was, but I didn't really care about any of it because I also knew what stormtroopers were and who Darth Vader was. And it wasn't until Wrath of Khan, I guess in 82, that it started to resonate with me again, that I started to sort of like understand that I was missing something, needed to go back and find out a bit more. How did Star Trek take hold with you in a way that other franchises? Because I mean, once Star Wars happened, they're just throwing science fiction at kids for the rest of our lives.
It's a good question. Probably because Star Trek hit me so hard so early that, and yeah, I love Star Wars. If you can see the rest of my office, there's plenty of Star Wars there too. But Star Trek, if I run home to mama, it's to Star Trek and it's to TOS. I enjoyed Star Wars. The first prop I ever made, I think, was a lightsaber. But Star Trek stays with me because it informed more of my character. Even as a kid growing up, more of my personality was derived from what I saw on the screen in Star Trek. I saw the relationships between Spock and McCoy and Kirk, and that's kind of how I wanted to live. So yeah, there was a veneer of Star Wars there, but if you strip all that away, there's a delta waiting underneath.
I swear, John, I'm going to let you ask the questions you want to about the costumes in just a moment. I'm sorry, the uniforms, actually, I got yelled at by Barry, who's got a head on him tonight. I don't know. Really quickly, though, 646-558-8656 is the phone number to call, 646-558-8656, or you can click on the Zoom link or tap on the one tap thing from your smartphone and get in touch with us. I know it's possible because people do it. So please find a way. Simplest would be 646-558-8656. Mr. Champion, I promise I shut up right now. Please begin your geeky, dress up.
It's all good, Ray. Actually, I'm going to jump to a question from one of our listeners. David says, so I only have one question for John Cooley. When are the first Contact /DS9 gray jackets coming back?
Ooh, we just did a wave of those, I thought.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So part of our model, because it's insane to sit on everything at once. Like if we were to offer the entire 52 years of Star Trek's costumes and uniforms at once and keep it on a shelf somewhere, that'd be rad, but it would also be problematic because there's a lot. 52 years of Star Trek history, there's a lot to do and a lot to see. So we do things in waves, and if something disappears now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't reappear again. Things like our green wraparound tunics, from TOS's first 2 years, those come around, every year or so there's a wave of those. It's the same for first contact jackets. We usually do those in batches. So if you just missed one, click the interested button on our website right next to the item, and you'll be notified by email as soon as we get Jen up to do another run of those.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk nerdy stuff. And this is going to be in two phases here, because I want to talk about Anovos, of course. Very curious about all the detail that goes into that. We're also going to talk about your passion. You already mentioned before the Remco toys, your Don Moore shirt. I had all this stuff too. No, I didn't have the TOS Don Moore stuff. I had the motion picture Don Moore stuff. We are definitely going to talk about that. But
like motion picture Don Moore stuff like that?
Yeah. See,
teasing you now. Sorry.
Seethe with jealousy right here in front of everybody. All right, look, skip the Anovos stuff. We're going straight for the 70s. All right, here we go. So 1979, I remember seeing that movie when it came out. I remember having the TMP Happy Meal from McDonald's and being very excited about that. I know Ken had those too. But then cut to early 1980, I want to say spring of 1980, I want to say in Sears, we picked up, my mom for me, I had the long sleeve blue uniform shirt, and I had the short sleeve white one. You go ahead and hold that up again and watch. Jealousy. Go ahead. Yeah, that. There we go. That thing is amazing looking.
I love this thing.
Yeah, there we go. If we cut.
The frustration is that I can't fit in it now.
Well, some altering maybe.
Well, there's always the point where it's like, if only I knew of a company that could make something like that.
Okay, all right. So wait a minute. The cat is out of the bag. Tell us, next year, 2019, is the 40th anniversary.
Is it?
Motion picture? Yeah, surprisingly it is. So might Anovos be developing something to celebrate that auspicious occasion?
That auspicious occasion. It is an auspicious occasion. And it kind of goes back to my DNA as a Trekkie too. Ken, you were asking how I got where I am now. And a lot of it has to do with an obsession with Star Trek the Motion Picture and the little Delta insignia. Not this is obviously Wrath of Khan, but the first time we ever saw Admiral Kirk wearing that symbol, I had to have it, and I begged my dad for one. They were selling them out in the lobby of the theater. And so it's just that desire to capture a moment, or capture that particular moment, and live it again. John, to answer your question, 40th anniversary of TMP. Yeah, I've thought of it.
Okay. That's all I get.
We all have. We all have. Sure. The motion picture for me has always signaled that's the moment the franchise breathed again. We had the animated series, and I love the animated series, but seeing Kirk and Spock and McCoy in their human forms walking around the bridge of the Enterprise again, that for me was the thing. They're back. It's back.
Yeah.
So as maligned as it can be occasionally, I want to wear a uniform. I want to wear a tunic from the motion picture. I'll tell you what I want. I'm not giving anything away that maybe we're looking at doing, but I'll tell you what, all things being equal, if I could wear one thing from the motion picture, it'd be Admiral Kirk's gray and whites.
Yeah.
And because somebody will answer in the talkbacks, green and whites. Okay. Because whether you realize it or not, the sides of that uniform are actually sort of a mossy green, kind of like an army blanket.
Right.
But yeah, no, the motion picture is relevant. I mean, we're going to see so many companies, so many of our friends and colleagues are looking towards the motion picture next year. So hopefully we'll see a nice celebration of it.
Cool. Look, late 70s pajama look is coming back. All right. That's just right there. And Ken, this one's for you. Belt buckles, no belts.
See, I was going to ask about that. I was going to ask if
whatever. The scan?
The what?
the per scan buckle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a piece
Whatever.
of technology. It's technology, dude. Gotta have it.
Hey, it's supposed to give a reading to anybody of what your particular biorhythms. There's a 70s term. What your biorhythms are at the moment.
It's a mood belt, man. That's what it is.
Yeah. It should absolutely flash with your sign every time you walk up to somebody. Just like yeah. How do you, obviously, so next year is the 40th anniversary of TMP, as John pointed out. So obviously you're going to be thinking about TMP stuff going into the 40th. I mean, a big date like that, you will. Otherwise, how do you go about deciding what kinds of things you're going to concentrate on? I mean, is it you sitting there going, you know what I really want to wear? As you just said a moment ago, well, there's one way to do it. I'll just make my own. I mean, how do you decide, what the next direction you're going to go is?
Well, luckily I don't. I can offer suggestions. Everybody has a boss. I have bosses. One of my good friends who is our brand manager for our Star Trek brand. His name is Joe, a different Joe, and he's just as big of a Trekkie as the rest of us are. And so we can present ideas and we sort of hammer them out and come to a consensus. What do we want to see versus what does the public want to see? We're not just making these things, despite things that I may have said in the past. We don't just make these things solely to please ourselves. There's a greater group, a body of Trekkies out there in the world that have wants and desires too. Everybody has their favorite thing. And in over 700 hours of the franchise, everybody has a different opinion of what their favorite thing is.
But I mean, you can't be making everybody's favorite thing. Like, I would love Zephram Cochrane's hat from First Contact. It's goofy, right? I don't know how many of those you're going to sell though. The Monster Maroon, a lot of people want to be an admiral, or a lot of people want to be a captain. A lot of people want to be that. And so you look at something like the Monster Maroon, you're like, okay, yeah, well, we're going to sell more than 5 of those. I don't know how many of Zephram Cochrane's outfit from First Contact you would sell.
And that's where you have to make the hard call. It's like, what's a holy grail for somebody? What's a holy grail for us, really? And you've got to split the difference. Like, is there something that I really want that I'm never going to see? I mean, you get that right at the motion picture. The motion picture is a great example. Blue and gray footy pajamas are not everybody's cup of tea. I get that, So, there would be, I'm sure, a lot of people that are like, why would you do that? Why is that an interesting thing? Sell me on it. So yeah, no, there's always something. You were talking about Zephram Cochrane's hat. I'm a baseball fan, and I know there's a lot of people out there in fandoms, not just Star Trek, but a lot of fandoms that might look at sports and say, well, why that? Why sports? Why should I be interested? And yet Star Trek gave us an episode of baseball.
Nice.
Well, the cool thing about that too, I went to a smaller Comic-Con several years ago with a friend of mine in Buffalo, New York. Actually, went to the Buffalo Comic-Con, and we both had, or I can't remember which one he had. I think I was wearing one of my Star Trek hoodies, one of my TNG hoodies, and he had his Boba Fett hoodie. And he left his Boba Fett hoodie in the car after we left because he felt weird. But then we went into a bar that was Bill's jerseys wall to wall, right? And I was like, wow, what position for the Bills do you think she plays? And the thing is, he sort of walked in like he doesn't like to wear anything that's too incredibly geeky. That said, I mean, the baseball hat's a fantastic idea because you can wear your geek, but sort of do it, maybe a little bit stealthily.
Well, hey, I'm the wrong person to ask about stealthy. And let me tell you why. Okay, so you hit upon something really interesting there. You said he didn't want to walk into this bar that was mainly, perhaps sportswear.
Yeah.
Like jerseys, baseball jerseys, football jerseys, that sort of thing. And yet he didn't want to be seen in his Boba Fett hoodie, which, frankly, a Boba Fett hoodie, that's going to get lots of people's attention. That's stylish. Why not? Okay, but the guy over there wearing an Oregon Ducks jersey, that's football cosplay. That guy has never stepped foot, not, all things being equal, 9 times out of 10, that guy has never stepped foot on a football field before. And yet, why is it more socially acceptable for him to wear an Oregon Ducks jersey than it is for me to rock this ensemble?
Right. This was the question that I brought up to him. He did not go back to his car and get his Boba Fett hoodie, by the way, which sort of made me sad. I kind of wanted him to. I wanted it to be like a John Hughes moment where you're like, yeah, I
You wore
can't.
yours though, right?
Say again? Oh yeah,
You wore yours
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Good.
Although, I mean, in fairness, I mean, one of the really cool things about see, there's almost like a Star Trek bounding thing going on with the hoodies, you know, because if you know what they are, then you're like, oh, that's cool. And if you don't know what they are, you're like, hey, look, another guy in a hoodie. Go figure. John Cooley is our guest this evening, and we would love it if you called in with questions, with comments. Heck, tell him which hat he's never going to make you wish you would make. 646-558-8656 is the phone number to call. 646-558-8656. Or you can zoom in with the thing and do the thing with your smartphone and the wahey and the wahey and the wahey. Mr. Champion, we have a bit of business that we need to do before we get back to Mr. Cooley, don't we?
We sure do. We're going to talk about some beautiful little starships, the ones from the Eagle Moss Discovery Starships collection. Roll that beautiful starship footage, if you would, please.
Wow. It's like you're selling Bush's baked beans, but different. Yeah, Eagle Moss wants you to get a discovery of your very own, as well as, you know, a bunch of other ships, because that's the kind of thing they do. Also, the ships are awesome. I know you people listening on audio can't see what's on the screen right now, nor can you see what's behind me. So let me look at them. Oh, yeah, they're still awesome. Okay, good. All part of the Eagle Moss Discovery Starships collection we're talking about today.
Yeah, I'm holding one right here, but you can't see it. On the Federation side, you've got ships like the Shenzhou and the Discovery, the Corella, the Europa. I think those are really cool, the design on those. Have a look at them on screen here in the video. Then on the Klingon side, you've got that newly imagined bird of prey. You've got the Koch-class destroyer. You've got so much more coming. You have that Vulcan shuttle as well.
Now, what we'd love for you to do is go to eaglemoss.com/discovery starships. When you do, what you'll see are the renderings that serve as the basis for the die-cast models themselves, painstakingly reproduced, as always, under the supervision of Star Trek expert Ben Robinson. These are officially authorized by CBS Studios, roughly 6 to 10 inches from bow to stern, hand-painted, rich in detail. Each comes with the awesome magazine full of real-world and in-universe information, and each comes with a display stand suitable for displaying your ship.
Hey, interestingly enough, Chris in the chat says, just got my Eagle Moss Europa and Shenzhou dedication plaques today. Great stuff. Yes, they are, Chris. Yes, they are. Subscribers will get their first ship, the USS Shenzhou NCC 1227, for only $9.95 with free shipping. Additional models, including the iconic USS Discovery NCC 1031, will then ship monthly for the special subscriber price of only $44.95 each. That is 20% off the standard retail price, also with free shipping.
You know what Thanksgiving leads to, don't you, John? Oh, sure, a tryptophan hangover, but
yeah,
also Christmas, also gift-giving holidays. People who want to pick and choose their ships, or if you want to pick and choose a ship for somebody else, you can do that by going to shop.eaglemoss.com, or you can check your local comic book shop. You're going to pay about $10 more there. But saving money is not the only reason to subscribe. Subscribers also get free gifts worth over $100. Oh, like that dedication plaque you were just talking about a moment ago, John. I'm assuming that would be part of that. Yeah, and of course you can cancel your subscription at any time.
All right, so if you want to subscribe, you'll go to eaglemoss.com/discovery starships. To buy individually, you'll go to shop.eaglemoss.com. And as always, a huge thanks to Eagle Moss for sponsoring this week's show.
646-558-8656 is the phone number to call. 646-558-8656. Or you can use the why can't I ever say it right, man? Click on the Zoom thing. Go to missionlogpodcast.com. That's wrong. I mean, you can go there. We'd love it if you did. But go to facebook.com/missionlogpod and then click on the Zoom thing and be on with me and with John and with John.
Nice. Hey, John, I want to go back to, let's talk about Star Trek in the 70s. All right. Yeah. So you brought out those Don Moore, you brought out the Don Moore shirt from the motion picture. Of course, the motion picture really, it was exciting to see Star Trek try to merchandise the way that Star Wars had done just a couple of years before. So you had things like this line of shirts, but those come a few years after the original line of Don Moore costume shirts. Give us the nutshell version of that, because I know that you were so excited about Anovos recreating those. This kind of leads into my question about the Anovos process, because it's kind of a mystery to me. But if you could show me and our viewers your reproduction adult size Anovos Don Moore shirt.
What, the thing that most people refer to as my security blanket?
Yes, yeah. So you're holding the command green forest green shirt. But this is a recreation of what Don Moore did 75, 76. So post animated series, but in the heyday of Star Trek syndication and this sort of this baby boom of Star Trek merchandising. That's when all the Remco stuff was out. That's when the Mego figures were out, predating the Star Wars merchandise boom. Yeah. How did those shirts come to be, and why did you guys create an adult version of them?
Great questions. It's probably my favorite Star Trek product of all time. Because what does a uniform do? What does this do if you're a kid in the 70s? It allows you to feel like you're part of the crew. You can look down at your chest and see the insignia staring back at you. You can feel the black ribbed collar at your throat. You know, it's that wish fulfillment of I'm part of the crew. And if I've got my Remco phaser and a couple of other buddies that want to do it, we can go outside and we can have a landing party. And you know, that is just that ability to intersect the franchise at that level where you're part of it. I imagine it's what the VR experience is for people now. This is the first VR. Being able to put on a costume and walk around in your head aboard the Enterprise is the original VR.
There's something really meta about what you're talking about, though, because now I'm not sure if you're recreating a t-shirt for a child in adult sizes, are these people who want to be Star Trek, or are these people who want to be kids being Star Trek? And casting no aspersions about any of it, I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out which layer of the onion we've gotten to at that point.
Both. Okay, so I can cosplay as Captain Kirk. I can cosplay as myself in 1975 with anything I've got in my closet. Yeah. See, that's the crazy thing about it is that, okay, I have had people show up at convention to purchase that shirt while their child with them is wearing the original that they owned in the 70s.
Wow. Sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That is pretty cool.
That shows you the sort of heart and depth the franchise is capable of. That it's not just generational. It's not just generational passed down to the kid. It's alive and well and breathing in that person, in that moment. It blows my mind. And I've seen it time and again. You know, these things are part of the memories that these Trekkies have had growing up. It's part of how they integrated with the franchise when they were young, and it's a way of reaffirming that, really.
Speaking of cosplay, by the way, let us not gloss over the fact that you pulled off one of my favorite cosplay of all time. Which was you showed up I think it was 2016.
2015, 2016.
2015.
2015. Okay.
You're talking about Gene, right?
Yeah, as Gene Roddenberry, holding his pilot script for The Cage. And it was like, here's the thing. Sure, anybody could slap on a vintage gray suit and some vintage looking sunglasses and carry around a copy of the script. But it took about 0.02 seconds to look at you and just go, holy crap, that's Gene Roddenberry right there. It was just dead on perfect.
I have to give credit to that for that idea. I can't take credit for it. That came from the other half of my brain, my design partner, and really my best friend, Steve Ronchek, who was looking at me one day and said, you know, you could pull off a halfway decent Gene. You just have to shave. Which was an enormous commitment for me because my beard is my little goatee here is the only thing that gives me the illusion of a chin. So I really had to think long and hard about it. And then sometime after he had mentioned that, I ran across a pair of Florsheim loafers, and I realized this is exactly what Gene would be wearing at this point. 64, 65, creating the show, and I just went for it.
Yeah. People listening to this, by the way, I was the one who took the pictures of you and Rod and Zale. Actually, right. I do not have my phone with me right now because I was going to hold them up for the camera. But check out the I guess our Facebook page either later tonight or tomorrow, and yeah, you can see what he pulled off there. I was at Disneyland earlier this year, and somebody had also done like a young Walt. They were sort of like, cosplay / Disney bounding as a young Walt. And it reminded me immediately of what you had done there as well. Because it's another one of those things, kind of like I was saying about the hoodie, that you're kind of like, cosplaying on the down low. Like if you don't know who you are, you're just like, hey, look at the guy in the glasses. That's odd. But if you know who that is, then you're like, wow, that is so who that is.
I made a point that they'd even have a Ticonderoga #2 pencil in my in the suit pocket because I just remembered what those photographs of him that day on the set look like. That was a little nerve-wracking, by the way. That's the first time I'd ever met Rod, and I really felt like that could go either way. Because how do you meet someone for the first time while cosplaying their father?
Yeah, so, that could be a little weird. But then, of course, he brought his son over to have a picture with the three, which was it was a neat moment. It was neat
fun.
To see, actually.
Hey, by the way, Jonathan in the chat mentions that there is a Facebook group dedicated to discussing Star Trek Anovos products on Facebook. Anovos fans. Actually can't see the rest of it, but you guys can search for it. And as people adjust, they're talking about the product line from Anovos about Star Trek. And by the way, we have a video caller waiting. You know him, I know him, we all know him. It's Aaron. Aaron, are you there, sir?
I am. Hello.
Hey, Aaron.
How's it going? I wanted to call in for sort of like the Treksgiving sort of thing. I'm thankful for my Star Trek family, but John and I actually have known each other since college. We discovered by accident that we had been in a class together, completely forgotten about it, archaeology in Washington State. And it's like, hey, you remember that guy who always wore the Indiana Jones fedora? I'm like, yeah. Wait, how do you know that? It's like, that was me. So there's this really cool sort of Star Trek connection there. But yeah, no, the Star Trek for me has been huge for Thanksgiving. And this year, Thanksgiving is really special for me because it's my 5-year heart transplant anniversary on Thanksgiving. So
wow.
Pretty much everybody in the Trek community has sort of kept me sane while all that was happening. I actually had Neville Page messaging me in the hospital because we knew each other from Tron. So that was kind of fun to get that kind of Star Trek, sci-fi brain when all I was doing was just having hospital stuff happening. So that was,
nice. In a similar vein, though, Aaron kept me sane going back about a year and a half ago. I not to give too much information, but this guy's a saint. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, I had pneumonia. It was awful, and it was keeping me up at nights. And it was at that time that I discovered the Heroes and Icons syndicated package for Star Trek. Now, I have half a dozen ways that I can watch Star Trek episodes. But in the middle of the night when, you can't sleep and the rest of the house is asleep and the Icons package is airing every episode of Star Trek, I would watch that, and Aaron and I would message each other back and forth. And I credit Aaron with keeping me at least human enough to not, jump off a cliff or something, because we had a lot of good Star Trek conversations during that time.
I think that's where that badge thing probably started, too, the insignia
probably
conversation.
So
you definitely need each other to keep you sane for that. Yes. Yeah. And by the way, Aaron, if I can just point out, one of the things that I'm sure you're thankful for this Thanksgiving is that your home is tribble free, because I see the Glommer sitting on the shelf there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really nice. There's ants, but no tribbles.
Good. Well, we'll get an anteater to go along with the Glommer, and you're all set. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Well, very glad to have you, Aaron. Any other questions or comments tonight, or
I'm definitely looking forward to. No, I'm looking forward to all of the TMP stuff. That's like I said in the chat room. the best uniform of all time in Star Trek is the motion picture Admiral's uniform. That's it.
It's not only one of my favorites. I think as many people like to make fun of the motion picture, it's got to be at least somebody else's favorite because it shows up in 2 different iterations in both Star Trek 09 and Star Trek Into Darkness. So if they're copying it, nearly 40 years on at that point, somebody else must like it out there.
Well, and just visually if you took out all of the movies past TMP before Next Generation, there's a nice logical design progression from TMP into TNG. Somewhere between suddenly it turns into like submarine warfare, which like visually it makes no sense. So, I still think that I love watching the motion picture. He has that gigantic screen in his quarters that vanishes in the next iteration. He's replaced with like a regular, 1980s rounded display. It's none of it makes sense. It's just like, I feel like they put in so much effort into the thought of the visual aspect of the motion picture, and then just went like, story is important. If could have combined those 2 movies together, it probably would have been better. But I'm in love with the design style of that movie.
Well, and look, I'd even say, Aaron, that clearly they liked that uniform enough. It was iconic enough to bring it back in the J.J. Abrams track. But even in Discovery, I like that they inject some of that design language by having the panels on the uniforms and then those beautiful white medical uniforms that immediately made me think of motion picture.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, to me, that says, okay, these designs exist in the Star Trek universe. They take on different forms for different crews, different needs, but they're out there. So it makes the motion picture not feel like such a weird one-off.
Like it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, couldn't you argue though that the motion picture design came at the heels of disco, which was, it was 79 feels very much. TMP feels very much like the 70s, and 82 is very much not the 70s anymore in so many different ways. The other thing that I find myself wondering, and I've never talked to anybody about the design possibilities of this, but when we talk about Deep Space Nine, when we talk about Discovery, the kinds of things that we hear from people is, yes, people I understand, things I understand. Do smaller screens and not quite submarine warfare, but do things that aren't necessarily quite as spacey, if you will, sort of add to our ability to sort of get it, add to our ability to see ourselves in it, in the way that that Star Wars kind of did, because it was so freaking dirty. He's got an old car under a tarp in the garage in Star Wars, right? So much stuff had been so far future. Do you think maybe, and this is a weird question to ask now, but could some of the design choices in Star Trek 2 sort of be bringing it back to a thing that the average John and Jane could maybe understand a bit?
Sure. First of all, Ken, in 1979, I may have only been 7 years old, but I could picture myself at Studio 54. So I could picture myself on that 9-year-old white Enterprise wearing disco pajamas. All right.
Yeah. So, but you were a child. That's what I'm saying. You were a child. And oddly enough, you weren't paying nearly as much for movie tickets as your mom and dad.
And it hasn't changed at all in 40 years.
That's it.
Yeah, they had the no smoking sign on the bridge, so that might have been a little bit too far over.
But I get JJ's impulse. Not JJ, sorry. Forgive me. I get the impulse for the no smoking sign on the bridge, because what Star Trek 2 was all about, and what the reason for the Napoleonic uniforms, right? What Nick was trying to get it back to was something relatable, and relatable for him was Hornblower. Relatable for him was real world stuff like a no smoking sign. Right. Relatable and real world is part of what drives me in Star Trek. John, you were talking about early 70s Trek. And one of the things that I love and kind of miss about modern Trek, you don't see it as much as you did back then, is this idea of immersion, where Star Trek is real world. And there's a real universe out there. And these things are tangible. Franz Joseph's technical manual.
Yeah, right.
I love that things can be made to feel in universe, and that when we can get these things, we intersect that universe. When we did the 50th anniversary velours, each velour uniform came with a letter welcoming you to the Enterprise.
Yes.
And everything for me is about how can I make this feel real, because that's my favorite way to play with the franchise. And there are some people starting to play around with that. Like, again, with the velours, we did this. There's more of that I'd like to do. You have people like Dayton Ward writing travel guides, that are taking us on a tour around the Federation. He's got another book coming out soon that's Kirk Fu. And I know that is it's almost an instruction manual for how to defend yourself using Jim Kirk's really unique style of fighting. But it's written from the perspective that this is a Starfleet instructional manual teaching you the techniques of Kirk Fu.
Does he have a chapter on how to talk a computer to death? Because
I was going to say we should get in touch with him and make sure he's doing a chapter on word jujitsu. And he's going to do Kirk Fu. How does he not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
but I mean, that's something that is happening slowly, not as fast as I'd like to see. I'd like to see some in-universe stuff for Discovery. But one of my friends who used to work for Anovos now works for Silver Screen Bottling. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with this stuff.
We might have a passing familiarity with it from Comic-Con.
Sure. I mean, my familiarity with it comes from like STLV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ooh. But really, there's a backstory to all these products. And, I know a few people that have heard the backstory and not many people have. And it's unfortunate because the backstory is rad, which is that these things are, great example. Somebody asked why Jim Kirk and why whiskey? Shouldn't he be Saurian brandy or something like that? And the fact is that the backstory tells us that these products are bottled for use aboard the officers' clubs on Federation starships in the 24th century. They're named things like James T. Kirk bourbon whiskey because they are honoring past Starfleet officers.
Right. So and that's why you have the modern Trek logo on there, or modern typography, but with the Jim Kirk signature.
Precisely, because this isn't necessarily that Jim Kirk ever would have seen. He's dead by then.
Yeah.
But this is something that Guinan might have.
Stuff for Scotty.
Right. But this is something that Guinan might have below the bar.
Right. By the way, I don't want either my reaction or Ken's reaction to indicate that we think that that's a bad product. It is in fact a very good product. We just got too familiar with it.
I spent
yeah.
What I remember, I spent part of the night like really familiarizing myself with JTK. And yes, we got to a point where we were calling it by the shortened name because who had time to say as much as that.
But let's save this for a Patreon video. I think that would be, we'll just recount the whole thing, and that'll just be a Patreon.
Can't recount the whole thing. I can tell the story up to the part that we got to the underground bar, and then after that, it's like it's really terrible. Aaron, wait, Aaron, thank you very much for calling in. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
Have a good Thanksgiving, man. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say really quickly, I just want to remind people about something. Normally, this is the part where we would say that Priority One's coming up later, but they're not. So do us a favor. Go to podcast.roddenberry.com because we got a bunch of podcasts there. John mentioned them earlier, but I'll mention them again because this is the time of the show when we do that. Oh, there is, of course, Priority One, which will have a show. I believe they'll have a show this week. They're just not doing a live show today. Women at Warp, the Trek Files, Mission Log, and of course Mission Log Live. And there will be other things there at some point. So do people still set websites as a favorite in their browser, John?
Sure.
Okay. Well, then they should set podcast.roddenberry.com as a favorite in their browser. Now, here's the thing. John Cooley, I know you have something else you want to say, but I also know that you watch the show. Are you going to forfeit your chance at the lightning round? Do you want to go ahead and continue chatting? Or do you
it's tempting. Like there's the lightning round, but then I feel like maybe we do the lightning round the next time I show up. I mean, I'm being really presumptuous that I can come back.
Well, just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit.
Get that thought out. You just nail that last thought. And
I was just going to say again, it's the real world thing that I love. It's just anywhere where we can intersect Star Trek and feel like we're a part of it. That's what's exciting about right now. There's so much Star Trek happening. There's so much Star Trek that's coming down the pipe.
Ken, the fans are demanding it. The listeners are they're sending little memes, little emoji of lightning. Debbie, Chris, Jonathan, Carlos, they're all saying. Jonathan is saying that sound thunder. So
let's go for it.
Let's do it. All right, here we go. John, favorite Star Trek movie?
Oh, Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Well said. Who's your engineer?
Scotty.
Okay.
Ishaya, Porthos, or Spot?
Spot.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, John? That's fine. Starbase. This is a stupid question. We should actually burn it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Starbase or Starship?
Starship.
Yeah, duh, right? At least you got that one right after the last one. Favorite favorite Star Trek bad guy?
Ooh. Khan. I can't help it. There is a line from him that is stuck in my head all the time, and it's just so it tells you everything you need to know about the guy instantly. And that's when he's introducing himself to Marla MacGyvers, and he's like, "My name is Khan. Please sit and entertain me." That is everything you need to know about that guy right there.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Right. All right. Damjot or Dabo?
Damjot.
And finally, have you ever been to Vulcan, Alberta, Canada?
I haven't. I wish I had.
We need to, everybody who says no, we just need to basically sign them up and be like, right, we're renting a bus.
They're all going to
go up there. We're going to do that.
Bus. We're going to have to rent an Airbus A380 to get everybody in our convention.
How close is it to Ticonderoga?
Don't you think, though, that if they had room for an airplane, more people would have been to Vulcan?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there's a nearby-ish airport, but we might have to multiple buses to get us all from that nearby-ish airport. Because we keep adding to the list of people who haven't been, who are going to be part of this mission log Palooza at Vulcan, Alberta, Canada.
Multiple buses would not be the worst idea, but maybe we should think about let's just plan everything here live for everybody.
Look, if we plan it right, it's going to be during Canadian Thanksgiving. So we've already gotten a lot of invitations to that, I'm glad to say.
Yeah, here's the problem with doing that, though, as we were also told, the reason is because it's late in the year. You don't want to take buses full of people at any time that it might just snow or ice or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, which is not part of that.
Aren't you lucky, John? You got to join us on a show where we're working out logistics, something that may never happen.
I love it. I love logistics. And I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, is always been one of my favorites. It marks the start of the whole holiday season, really, more so than even Halloween. I just love it. Of course, I'm bracing for Friday. Black Friday's coming, and I'm actually have plans to brave it instead of staying home and doing the smart thing and just doing it online. I can't get out of it. But,
and look, not to sound too crassly commercial, if people are doing some online shopping on Black Friday, I know that there are some specials at Anovos.com. There you go. You didn't have to pay for that one. So.
Indeed, we've got. In fact, actually, all of our Black Friday sales, they've already begun.
Nice, perfect. So people can go check that out after the show, or on Friday if they just want to wait and pretend like it's a special.
Why wait
for Friday only?
Anovos.com is the website, and John Cooley, it's just been fantastic to have you with us. And you've already invited yourself back on, so maybe we'll see you again sometime. Oh, please, no, it's a pleasure to have you. Yeah, well. It was for us too. Well, I can't speak for John, but it was for me too.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen. Thanks, John. Until next time, Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, executive producer Rod Roddenberry. Technical production on Mission Log Live is by Infinity Networks producer Brandon Bradley. Be sure to check out the Mission Log shop. Just go over to missionlogpodcast.com. Click on that shop button in the upper right-hand corner. Our classic and new designs are there. Trek-ish gear for you. Just hit the shop at missionlogpodcast.com. And be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from the Roddenberry Podcast Network, including Mission Log, Women at Warp, Priority One, and the Trek Files. Thank you to everyone who joined us live or later, and we will talk to you next week.